Good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jody Wildy, and I am a member of the NAACP, and I'm your moderator for today. And um, just a few housekeeping things. Of course, we're going to show respect for everyone. If you have a question, I'd appreciate it if you could state your name and ask the question. Uh, there's certain questions that I will be giving to various candidates, and we appreciate you all being here. And each person in the audience can ask a question, and I appreciate if we're not talking over each other. Right. As I mentioned, each candidate will have a 3-minute opening and a 3-minute closing. So whatever you want to say, and we're going to try to keep each answer to probably at least 2 minutes, so that we're only here for 2 hours, and I'm sure we could be here much longer. Okay? And Derek, don't let me forget you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great. So, first question is, what sets you apart from others candidates?
Are we opening up?
We're
Let's start opening up?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to give you another 3 minutes. So I apologize about that. Okay, we'll go with you first while Derek's on the screen. Derek, you have 3 minutes to give us an introduction to yourself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I apologize, but I have to appear this evening by remotely, so I apologize for that. My name is Derek Brooks. I came to Upper Marlboro at 19 years old. Upon my arrival, I realized 3 important facts. Our community is a close-knit one, the importance of establishing and maintaining a good relationship with our neighbors, and that our care and concern of each other extends to our animals. More than 25 years later, those are a few of the many reasons I have remained a resident of the town of Upper Marlboro. Ours is a rich, thriving, historic community with potential to become even better. This is why I'm running to be one of the town commissioners. My love of commitment to our town has made this a place where I not only live, but I work here. For the past 33 years, I've worked for the Circuit Court for Prince George's County, serving county residents. Additionally, I work for the Prince George's Community College, helping to ensure students' academic success. Serving county residents both at the court and the community college has been a great pleasure and honor. As a first-time town commissioner, I realized there would be much learned. However, experience has taught me that no obstacle is too great to overcome with people when people are committed to accomplishing a common goal. As a town commissioner, my goal would be to advocate for and see our community to continue to thrive and get better. With your support, if elected, I commit to working alongside my colleagues to ensure this goal is realized. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
You're welcome.
What I want to say also is, if you have follow-up questions to a question, just raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you. Some of you all I can't see because of the screen over here, so. Okay, Mr. Phillips, how would you like to go next?
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
Give us your 3 minutes.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and put my time on, so I won't go over. My name is Andre Phillips. I'm a longtime resident of Upper Marlboro. I've been here almost a little over 10 years. Resident of PG County, graduated from PG County schools. I'm a Prince Georgian. My children went to PG County schools. My wife went to PG County schools. One of my sons goes to PG County Community College. So thank you, Mr. Brooks, for your service. I just would like to say that this endeavor is something that I'm passionate about, continuing my service for the community. I currently work as an advocate in the District of Columbia for several nonprofits and local labor organizations, where I represent over 50,000 public service employees. So my history is in public service. Before that, I worked with juveniles and juvenile court systems, court-involved youth. So my passion is for the young people of our community because they are the future of our community. When I came to Upper Marlboro, I loved this quaint uh, character of this community. It's a small community. We have a lot of diversity. I think that representation definitely matters. So for me to be in the district and pour myself and my energy into that community where other people live, I think it's only right that I reciprocate in my own. So my main goal is civic engagement. I met some of my counterparts in different capacities while I've been here, and I appreciate and applaud them for their efforts. I think that I have a lot to contribute. This would be my first time, in a political office in this arena. But I have many, many years of service. I served in the armed forces, giving back and protecting and providing for this nation. So I have a lot of rich history in the work of the people. I am naturally a community advocate by nature, but my main specialty, I should say, is finding mutual interest amongst different people that have differences, right? So I'm solution and problem solved oriented. I'm always looking for the right thing to do that meets everyone's need. We might not always get along, but I think that the differences make us stronger, and we should have that in our community as well. I think that a lot of people don't have a voice in this community, probably because they didn't feel the need to engage. I met the current mayor serving collard greens, right? And so that soul food in itself, I wanted to have some engagement in that because it brought us closer, giving back to the community. So it kind of inspired me. So I say all that to say that if elected, I will continue to move this town and represent to the best of my ability and use the skills and abilities that I have to better our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Familiar, Linda, give us 3 minutes on who you are.
Okay. I'm Linda Snoyer. I live on Spring Branch Drive, a 30-plus year resident of the town. I have served on the board for 6 years, 2 as a commissioner, 2 as a commissioner treasurer, and 1 as 2 as your mayor. I took a slight hiatus for some personal reasons, and we did a lot of good things in those 6 years. I've seen a lot of changes in this town. I've seen a growth in this town in many ways that you don't see physical growth, but a lot of strengths that have come from that growth. I always ran the community, the town, and the businesses working together as a triangle and working together collectively to make the town better. And I've seen that happen. I've seen it work. There's a lot to do yet, and I'd like to continue to do what I've been doing, had been doing for 6 years, during which time I always tried to better what I knew and how much I knew. I am a graduate of the Academy of Excellence, School of Public Policy. I was on the board of PGCMA, which is Prince George's County Municipal Association. I was the president, the secretary and vice president at the time, working with other municipalities, seeing what they were going through was an eye-opener for me especially during the pandemic. I'm sure everybody remembers the unprecedented pandemic. We did a lot during the pandemic. We had 2 special elections during that time. I was a mayor of 1 for a little while. But those are things that you just get over and you move forward, and we moved forward very well. I think we did quite a number of things. I jotted down just out of curiosity for myself that during that 6-year period of time, there's 126 pieces of legislation for a small town. You know, we have a lot of things that still need to be done and things that we need to work on, but I know that the people in this town do care. And they care about what we do and how we do it. Going forward, what we do now is going to define our future, especially in the next, few years. We've got annexation, which is something that in 2016, when it started, was not something they even thought of. And in 2018, we were doing it. So there's, like I said, some sweeping changes. I can't take all the credit because we all worked as a team together to do it, and we got a lot done. And I'd like to continue to do that, and because this town means a lot to me.
Thank you, thank you. Since you brought up the issue of annexation, what are your thoughts on annexation and how it would make the town move forward? And I will say I have my personal feelings about it because I'm like 2 inches from being annexed. Trying to move it down just a little bit more, like, come on. But anyway, what are your thoughts on annexation, and how do you think that it would benefit the town?
Town needs to grow. Now, if you look at the town footprint, there's no place to grow. Right now, with the footprint of the town, we've got very little space in which we can manage to build anything or produce anything. So we need to expand the footprint of the town, which will include more people. And down the road, the question before us is how many people do we need to grow to? Do we need to be buoyed? I don't think so. I think we need to find that sweet number in between, right about 2,600 people, and a commercial base that we can draw from, and some open space and some development. I know there's several coming on 725, some up on 202. Those will all be part and parcel if we do annex. And that will bring in more residents. We are not as significant as we could be to other people. We're just 600 and some people. Who are they? We're just little. But we're strong. And I think if we can build up just the number of people here, and that, we don't need to grow that to, like I said, the size of Bowie or something like that. But we do need to grow, there's no doubt about it.
Mr. Phillips, what is your thoughts on annexation?
I echo everything Ms. Penoria said. I just would like to add that we have blighted areas outside of our area, our jurisdiction, should I say. And I think that puts kind of a black eye outside of our area. I think that with more residents in our community, of course, there's room for all type of things, room for more growth. Infrastructure is really, really important to build upon, to have this community be what it can be. So I'm in favor of it. I think that we should also take more more extensive looks at how it'll impact us fiscally, because I know that we talk about taxes and, so on and so forth, and it's supposed to kind of wash each other out with the new people joining. So that's something that we need to look at, but I am in total favor of annexation and expanding the city limits.
Mr. Brooks, with regards to annexation, if we annex, then that may cause some issues with infrastructure and traffic and all of that. How do you suppose to address those issues if we annex, and particularly 202, 725, and 301?
Well, first of all, I do believe annexing the area. I think that would bring in, more people, more revenue. I think we should talk about what areas we will annex in. Like I said earlier, we have a very small historic town, and it's very a close-knit community. But as time progresses on, more people are moving into the town, and I believe if you bring more people in, I think it would be better for the community in terms of revenue, what ideas other people can bring in. But, you know, if elected to be one of the commissioners, that's something that we all have to be at the table for, to discuss what areas we would bring in, how many people, and how that will broaden our whole little small historic area.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brooks, I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Brooks, let me ask you another question. Where do you see, in that case, where do you see the town in 10 years?
Oh gosh, I think the town in 10 years will be booming. If we stay on the right track that I think we are on now, I think the town will be booming. I mean, I don't want the town to be it would come to the point where we would have a lot of traffic, especially on the weekends. We can have, we can try to do different things to like some nights we'll have movie nights over at the Catholic Church. We can do different things like that. We can also, you know, we have the carnival in the summertime. But I think if we annex more people in, I think within 10 years, our town will be booming. I think it would put us on the map more. People will be talking about us more in a good way. But I honestly see us moving in a good direction. I think in 10 years, we will be probably one of the towns that people say, oh, we want to move there or come back there for whatever activities we have.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Linda Noyes, if we annex, and all of these questions are not totally geared towards annexation, but what would you like to see in the town? I'm working with development within the Largo region, and there's certain things that they'd like to see occur, certain stores that would actually promote Largo. What type of stores or businesses would you like to see here that would kind of keep that small town feeling, but also be able to grow the town?
I would like to see us keep Main Street kind of quaint the way it is. I don't think that how the quaintness of the town and the stores and the shops makes a difference. It's what you put in it that makes the difference. As far as annexing out, then you can take a different look. But you can blend the two, the historic part and the newer part of the annexation. And I'd really like to see some medical buildings. We have, I think, 2 doctors in town. I'd like to be able to go to the doctor, and when he sends me for an x-ray, not have to go to Bowie. Or if I need blood work, I don't have to go to Bowie or Dunkirk or somewhere else. We should be able to do that here. And that's one of the things I'd like to see come through. Of course, everyone is in agreement that we need some restaurants, some very good restaurants. Not that we don't, some of our restaurants are very good, but I'd like to see some more restaurants. I'd like to see some more things that are of the entertainment that would bring people down here. If you go to, for example, Old Town, any Old Town, there's a draw there. We don't have that draw, and I would like to see that happening now. What can we offer? If it's a bunch of restaurants on Main Street, then we've got East Street and Main Street, and we've got a summer festival, food festival. But we have to generate something that's going to do that. And we have water all around us, utilizing that as well.
Phyllis.
Yes.
How do you balance, if the town grows, how do you balance growth and crime?
I think that, for one, we need to understand that policing is just not riding through neighborhoods. Also, community engagement, community outreach, Sometimes that the youth commit crimes, partake in mischievous things because they don't have anything to do. Don't have youth engagement in this community. So if elected, that would be one of the things that I would like to see more of, youth engagement, internship, things that keep the community busy. And once we start to interact, connect, we can police our own and also help law enforcement in certain ways because we'll have more of a connection with law enforcement opposed from just counting the times that they ride through our neighborhood, right? And so I think that that is really important. I had an opportunity to meet with one of our detectives of the town, and once I got to talk to her, my perspective on the town law enforcement changed. How many people in this community actually talk to them to understand what they're doing, right? And so I think that that's very important that we have that connectivity with law enforcement. And I think that most of the crimes that are taking place are usually from, maybe some of the vagrants, not particular ones that have mental health issues, but the ones that are getting out, trying to find their way back into the city. So we need to find different ways to get people back to where they're going, or be able to identify those that are a threat, and things of that sort. So I think that that's one of my biggest areas, because crime is just a effect of other things, right? So we need to be able to identify those things so we can address them in a significant way instead of just blanketing crime in general, and still keep our hometown, small town values. I think that's the key.
Mr. Brooks, can you answer the same question? How do
Sure,
you balance growth with,
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
how do you balance growth and crime? If you want to grow the town, how do you mitigate or eliminate the crime that occurs with growth?
Great question. I think, unfortunately, it's very sad that crime is skyrocketing today all over the country. I think, with our historic town, I'm always about knowing your neighbors. Like I said earlier, it's a close-knit, small community. It's good to get out and know your neighbors. Each community can have like a picnic someday. You can get to know your neighbors. We go back to the old saying, if you see something, say something. If I see a strange car at my neighbor's house sometimes and she's not home, I will call her and say, hey, I think someone's there that doesn't supposed to be there. So it's all about communication with your neighbors. That's first and foremost. Second of all, of course, we have to revert to policing. That's another issue that, maybe we can get more policing in the town. If not that, maybe we can work with Prince George's County Police part-time to help out in that area. Because if we grow the town more, of course, we're going to need more officers to canvass the area. But it really goes back to being in a close-knit community, knowing your neighbors, and just working with one another, because we're so small and it's a wonderful, beautiful town. And that's one of the reasons why I have stayed here so long. But it's all about getting to know your neighbors. When you get to know your neighbors and you have a good rapport with your neighbors, you're going to look out for one another.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Benoya, what are your thoughts on having a police department in a separate building out of the town that isn't even within the planned annexation?
I definitely think police department for the town of Upper Marlboro should reside in the town of Upper Marlboro or within the town limits.
Mr. Phillips?
I agree. You have someone that's not within your community, they look at, my opinion, they look at the people in the community that they're policing as if they are not connected to them. So when you have law enforcement in your community that you see every day and you wave at them every day, it's a different feeling because they know the citizens that they serve. It's not only a accountability thing, but it's a self-accountability thing because you're not going to treat your brother or sister, neighbor, the way that you don't want to be treated. So you have the law enforcement or the public servant officials in our community close knit, like the gentleman said, Mr. Brooks. I think that that's more effective than having an outside force, so to speak, coming into your neighborhood.
So, Louis, I'm gonna ask you this question. With growth, police town is small, police department is small, how would you accommodate the police with the growth that's going to, or may potentially grow? You would have to definitely grow your police department.
Oh, that would definitely have to happen. You would have to grow the police department just on general principle. We have, 4 officers now, and there's 660 people. And we're just over a square mile. Really, with the, one thing I will say, I think that we need to take a look at how we are handling it now, and have an intent as to how we can handle it in the future. You need the revenue in the first place. Yes, we're going to grow. Where do we get the revenue to make that happen? So, because if you're going to annex, you have to hit the ground running with anybody you annex. The people that you annex are going to want those services day one. Now, where does that money come from? Before their taxes get paid and that revenue comes in, that's something we have to determine. And how we go about that is, can we do that and be fiscally responsible to the citizens that we already have?
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, how would you contribute to collaborative relationships, building with the county and state officials and offices that current board has been working over the past 18 months? In other words, how would you work with the county and work with the local government and the county? What kind of collaborative relationship do you foresee?
I'm sorry, Ms. Wiley, can I touch on that last question you asked to both of them about officers from another area in helping in our community?
Certainly.
Yeah, I think, dealing with outside entities wouldn't be a bad idea for a backup. If crime continues to rise, a backup police officers would not be a bad idea. I think we should only resort to that if crime gets to the point where we need help. So I think that would be a good idea for a backup. And to answer your current question, I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
More or less, how would you collaborate with the county in more or less growing the town and them having some input on what Upper Marlboro can do and what Upper Marlboro cannot do?
Oh, yeah. I think sitting down at the table, speaking with all county officials, showing them the things, how we progressed thus far, how we want to move forward, putting out a plan to show all of them ways that would be needed. I think if everyone comes together and keep an open mind, I think that would be a good idea. But you have to keep an open mind with all county officials moving forward and just putting out a plan. So I guess we would have to get together with all the commissioners, the mayor, and all the county officials and just come together and present a good plan that we think would be better for our town to move forward to present to the outside leaders.
Phillips.
Yes.
How would you attract more business and investments to the town?
I think that Relationship building is the biggest thing. Observing what other towns are doing, adopting new ideas, building partnerships, finding mutual interests, and doing things that people, that everyone likes, right? So, I mean, I haven't been really drawn into some things, but I think that if we have events, entertainment, incentivize the community to want to come out and tapping into what we already have. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people have skills and abilities and connections with other people. So to tap into our current resources within our town, with the people within our town, and also to Mr. Brooks' point, we have government entities within our jurisdiction that we need to share resources with, right? So tapping into those resources for mutual interest. I'm standing on youth engagement, right? I haven't seen midnight basketball games for the young people or different events for youth. People that have children, they'll invest into their children to come out and to do different things. So that type of engagement will bring more satisfaction in the town, so people can want to be involved in other things. So I think that's the catch, the carrot in front of people.
Well, let me ask you another question.
Yes.
The county seems to have this fetish, let's say, with building houses.
Mm-hmm.
How would you balance building more houses with, and anyone can answer this question after you do.
Okay.
How do you balance the willingness to build more houses as opposed to building more businesses, so the tax base is where you would need it to be? Because if you go along 301, now 725, and right at the area of Kent Drive, where I live, and 202, they're talking about building 162 single-family homes. So that's a lot of property.
Right.
So how do you balance, the building, if we want to expand Upper Marlboro, but we're being inundated with a lot of housing? I'm not adverse to expanding or building houses. I just truly believe in smart development. And we look at how things are being built, where they're being built, creating those neighborhoods. Not to focus on me, but I remember, and probably many of you all do, when we grew up in neighborhoods. Now people go in their garage, you don't even know your neighbor. So how do you, again, balance, let's say, neighborhoods and building houses with needing to create businesses within certain areas, and pretty much everybody is sort of on board with that, but as time goes on, most people are concerned with the infrastructure, the building of the houses, the lack of businesses. So what would your thoughts be in terms of trying to balance all of that into a town such as Upper Marlboro and be a little beyond?
So that's a loaded question, right? But I would say that I would start off by understanding the infrastructure that we have, right? I don't know if we could take fast, progressive development in our town, and I think that we had a community meeting a couple weeks ago where we addressed certain things. If you see during the daytime around the town, you see a lot of traffic just speeding through the town, right? Already, we can't even take what we currently have. So we're looking for ways to strengthen our infrastructure. As far as business is concerned, I think I want to see more small business that is have the characteristics of Upper Marlboro, right? So I know that RFPs go out to see what's going on, or we have economists that look at the growth of the town compared to what we're bringing in. So it's a lot of other factors. I'm not an economist. I'm not any of that. But I will say that before you can even have fast development like that, you have to build your infrastructure. You got to have businesses that complement the town. And then you also have to look at other statistics that already exist. I know that one of the council members by the name, I think her name is Walla Begay, she's looking at stopping so much growth, right? So we partner with certain officials to ensure that we have collective interest in stopping certain things from happening, so we can make sure that we preserve our own individuality. But I will say also, you know, I'm going back to the youth again. I want to see kids being able to go to the pond on their own without getting hit by a car. Or I want to see that, you know, we can take the nature trails through these new trail areas and enjoy the nature. When you come from Pennsylvania Avenue and you come down this way, it's like it opens up. So we want to make sure that we preserve that. But I would like to see some growth, but only when our infrastructure is stronger to do so at our own time, at our own pace. And I think that's what makes this town stronger, because we have our individuality. I hope I answered the question. That was a long question.
The growth that Councilmember Brigade wants to see is what the master plan had in mind, and that's building around transit systems.
Right.
The whole issue of building some of these.
Yes.
So because that we stand right now, we don't have the infrastructure
Correct.
for the townhouse.
Correct.
But not to say we don't want to build any townhouse.
Right. We just want to do it at our pace.
Exactly.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Answer that question also?
I thought I heard Mr. Barber.
Oh. Did you have something?
Who, me?
Mr. Brooks.
Yes,
Yeah.
To echo a little bit of what Mr. Phillips said, I don't know the laws on if we can build more homes in our area, but me personally, I don't think that would be a great idea, because you know, if you constantly build, I mean, like you said, they're building up all up 301, 202, in all those areas, but in our little historic area, I don't think that would be a good idea, because you're taking away from the beauty and the future, the nice features of our town. So me personally, no, I wouldn't be for building more homes in our area. I mean, we want to show more of the beauty of our area. You know, we have the beautiful pond, we have the Catholic Church at the top, we have the museum back there, we have the equestrian center. I mean, I would like for us to, you know, we can have tourism one day for if people want to come to Upper Marlboro, the historic part, and make it a tourism town for people to view us and see what we have. But building more homes and things of that nature, me personally, I wouldn't be for that. It would just take away from the town, and we don't have that kind of area to do such a mass building like that.
Okay, thank you.
Many of those developments are already in process. It's not a question of do we want them or not. The question is, can we get a seat at the table?
Mhm.
And the seat at the table to make known what the town and the surrounding area within the town would need. You put 165 homes, they got to eat. You're not gonna provide a restaurant area. You're not gonna provide entertainment for these people. You're just gonna plop 165 homes down and let them fend for themselves. Most planned communities always include some kind of shopping elements, a strip mall, which I hate, but you could condense that into a more of a small town center, where you have shops and you have a grocery store, and you would have, you wouldn't have to travel to a CVS from that direction. You would want to be able to sit at the table and say, let's address these needs as well, because these people are still going to have those needs. And as long as we have a seat at the table, you know, we can hopefully get through to some of the developers. But if like right now, the developers have what's in mind, and they've gone through the county, it's not gone through us at all. So we don't have that seat at the table.
Mhm.
You know, annexation would bring that in.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, what are your top 3 priorities if elected?
My top 3 priorities would be, first one would be each of our developments in our town. I think we should have like a big picnic for everyone to come out and to know one another. Second thing I would do is, like I mentioned a little bit ago, let people come to our town for tourism day, because we have a lot of rich history there that can be told, especially at the courthouse. And the third thing I would do is just have more activities in our area where we can bring in revenue, not to have it all night. It needs to be a cutoff point because it's such a small town. We don't want to bring in too much unwanted traffic, but just have some events, you know, wintertime, summertime, spring, where we can bring in more revenue, some good ideas that will, you know, like I said, bring in some more revenue for our town and to show people more of our town. So those would be my top 3 things I would say.
Phillips, your top 3?
3 is hard, but 3, I would say civic engagement, or civil engagement. I think that we need to know more of each other. So we need to have a lot more diversity, representation, people that, you know, are from all walks of life, with their seat on the table. Infrastructure, building our infrastructure, that people could want to come to this town, and we can sustain that growth, or that tourism that comes in, and just investment, whether it's people investment, monetary investment in our businesses, making it more palatable for people to want to come in and do business with the town of Upper Marlboro, and just keeping our identity. I think that's 3.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yeah, I would like to see annexation go through. We've been working on it for a long time. I'd like to see that come to fruition. That was a dream of mine back in 2016. The town grow, and I'd like to see that come to fruition. I'd like to see the community and the businesses come together more, because our town people do not necessarily support our businesses, and they need to be supported by our people. I usually ask people, where'd you go to dinner? And they usually go over there in Bowie, or I went down to Dunkirk, or I went, you know. So I'd like to see more of the townspeople support the town businesses and have a lot more community involvement, and with the town and with what we're doing in this. This is nice, but this room should be full. You would think it would be full at this point in time. We need to engage more of our citizens and get them more involved. I think that the history of the town, it is a close-knit town. It's been small, and it's been small for so long that it just doesn't feel like it should go anywhere, and it should. I'd love to see it fly.
What do you all think about, and again, anyone can answer this question, about town branding? Something that would more or less attract people if you had a brand of some sort that would engage people from outside of the town to come into the town.
I think it's a great idea. I think branding but what do we stand for? Hey, that's the key definition. I hear about history and historic value, but also about progression, right? Innovative thoughts and ideas. So we have to identify what we really are about. So maybe a rebranding, the better, answer, or better phrase, in my opinion. We need to rebrand it and have people represented all walks of life, all colors and creeds of religions and so on and so forth. So diversity is very, very important. But I'm in favor. I'm very in favor of branding because branding creates a sense of pride, and so we should have pride in our town. So that creates investment in our own community. So I'm very in favor of it.
Mr. Brooks, what do you think about town branding?
I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. I think you have to revert back to everyone involved that lives in our town. Everyone has to get involved to give their ideas. You can write it in, you can go on social media and give your ideas. And then as the town commissioners and the mayor gets together, they can pick from that and show people, these are the ideas that everyone talked about. And what do you think is best? But you have to get everyone involved. You know, this job is not going to be one person. It's not a one person's job. It's a group effort. Everyone has to work together and keep an open mind because we're moving forward in the world. And I think that would be my idea on moving that. You know, let people go on social media and give their ideas, whatever logo or whatever they want to do. The town commissioner and the mayor gets together, pick from those and say, this is what, these are what various people said, and go from there. But it has to be an involvement from everyone in the community. People can't sit by and be idle and just say, oh, I'm not going to come out and vote. Or if something bad happens, everyone's going to start talking. You have to be involved in all aspects of our community. It's our community. You're paying taxes, you live there, you have a right to give a voice to everything. So I think, that's the way I would go about it. Social media, getting everyone, telling people give me your ideas, and we all get together collectively, and then we'll see which one best suits everyone and go from there.
Thank you. Ms. Benoit.
I think the first thing we have to do when you're saying rebranding, we have to decide what we were branded as in the first place. We don't have a brand. Some people call it historic, and that's valid. For Court Town, that's also valid. For the county seat, again, valid. But there's no one brand in this town. We've never been branded in one way and one way only. So before, let's rebrand it. Let's decide what we are to begin with.
I have a follow-up question.
Certainly.
I'm wondering if the candidates participated in the branding survey. That's the town.
Was that the questionnaire?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking at the
Yes,
photos that are
absolutely.
going out
Yes,
there.
yes. It was 1,000 questions?
It was.
Yes.
Thank you. How do you all feel about what impact did the county administration building leave the upper town of Upper Marlboro when they left? What impact did it have on the town itself?
Big economic input. The impact is economic. When I remember talking with Richard Baker when he said, "I'm not moving the county seat," and he didn't. He just took all people. small details, and that did make an impact. Our downtown area survived on those people. That was part of their income. And when they moved them all away, now they're moving people around. That's not increasing anything. They're just moving from one space to another within the town. And of course, nobody's telling us what they're doing necessarily. So it had a big economic impact on this town, and they knew it.
So, you saying they didn't care?
No, they cared. They put money in the budget, they just don't fund it very often.
So you, Mr. Brooks, what, did you notice the impact that moving the, administration building had on the town itself?
I think that was very unfortunate. You know, that office was a major part of the courthouse. You know, everyone worked together. By moving, I think that was a very unfortunate idea. I don't know what all went into deciding that. I'm not for sure, but unfortunately, you know, I don't think that was a good idea, but I'm not for sure, like I said, what all went into that, who made that happen. Um, so I can't, you know, go into, you know, what, unfortunately, it was a, you know, it was hurtful, but I don't know what all went into it and who was at the table to make that happen and what were their reasons for moving. So, yeah.
Thank you. So the other question would be, outside of annexing, how do you bring additional revenue into the town itself?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut anyone off. By
Well,
having,
I have your own. Go
I'm
on,
sorry.
complete your, statement.
Oh, okay. I think the way to bring more revenue in, like I said, like, you know, sometimes we have like car shows. You have Marlboro Day. I don't know where all that funds go to, but I think we should have different little ideas in terms of uh, uh, maybe arts and crafts shows sometimes. Little small ideas like that, you know, to bring more revenue to our town. And I don't want it to go all night because, like I said earlier, you know, it's a small knit community and we don't want to bring in a lot of unwanted traffic because sometimes a lot of unwanted traffic can be a bad idea. But just having various little things in our town, cooking bake sales, craft shows. They do the car shows. We have Marlboro Day. More ideas like that will bring in revenue. Like I said earlier, we should have a tourism for Upper Marlboro, learn about the culture and the history of our area. So those would be the things that I would say would bring in more revenue. But I just want to stress, it shouldn't be all night, shouldn't go in, should be at a certain time to cut off because we do not need a lot of unwanted traffic that, you know, that sometimes that can be a bad idea.
Would anyone else like to answer that question?
Oh, yes. I would love to. I would like to merge the two questions that you stated before in regards to the town county administrative building. That's a lot of space, right? I know I can only liken it to the district where I spoke on this last meeting that we had in regards to the mayor, Mayor Bowser, kind of put pressure on the federal government in the downtown area that if you don't come back, we need to make those into condos, right? So I don't know the particulars in why they left or what's vacant in that building, but we should be able to create partnerships or dialogue with those necessary people that had a hand in that and create ways to bring more businesses or to rent those spaces to more individuals that if we can. I don't know if that's possible, but one of the things that we've talked about is infrastructure. Bringing business in, we have to have the space to do so until we annex, of course. And I'm for that. At the same time, are we making good on what the spaces that we have and the businesses that we have, right? I think that we have the ability to bring incentivize people to come in, but we need to tap into what we have now. Someone mentioned about entertainment. What are other towns doing with entertainment to bring people in? Whether it's live shows on the lawn or at the building, I don't know. Things that people are interested in. I see that we have food trucks now, but I think it's so many innovative ways. I think that we're kind of behind a little bit, and we need to have fresh ideas to have people come in, right? And so that's my take on bringing more revenue in and bringing more people in. So The answer is kind of twofold about the building itself, the county administrative building, and incentivizing people to come in with the space that has, along with the other spaces that we have available to us and the businesses that we currently have that are serving people. We need to bolster those so we can have more things come in.
Mr. Noy, Upper Marlboro is known as a port town.
Yes,
And I will be quite honest, coming from the city, the only thing I knew about Upper Marlboro was if you got in trouble, so you really go there. So again, what suggestions would you have outside of what Mr. Phillips said in bringing people in? And you mentioned Bowie a number of times. Bowie used to be a very small town like Houston. And part of it still is. But what did Bowie do that Upper Marlboro could consider in terms of outside of annexing and to bring people in? And I think that, again, I mentioned that because a lot of people really don't know a lot about Upper Marlboro. They don't know the history of Upper Marlboro. They don't know, that it's not just a court town or someplace that you go, for that purpose. So, because it's synonymous with court and jail and all those other things that people, ideas about Upper Marlboro are.
I always say, they used to always tell us, well, you got all these people coming in for the court, they don't stay. They come and
Well,
they
they do
leave.
sometimes.
Well, they do and they leave. They don't even stay for dinner. The type of businesses that we have downtown will make a difference for people to stay if they do come to court. We need attraction. Bowie has attraction. Look what they do at Allen Pond. That's a whole lot different than our pond. They're two entirely different things. But we could do something if we thought about it. You can paddle boat on their pond, we can't. You look at what they're doing, but how can we adapt it to what we have?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we don't have. The buildings that we could utilize to do something don't belong to us. You can't market a building that doesn't belong to you. That's been our problem a long time. And I've, said it many times. But I've also, thought about, like I said earlier, we have water all around us. There's no reason we can't have a canoe and kayak livery. That would, you could go all the way to Jug Bay if you cleared it out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, that's a wonderful exercise. You could hike it. You could find a way, there's a historic water trail. There's like these historic trails that go all up and down here. We need to look at those.
Mm-hmm.
And bring that in part. Then you get the people on the bikes, and they don't stop. And where they're going to stop, they're going to stop here.
So, Brooks, it was mentioned that we don't have a seat at the table. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you suppose you would force that seat at the table to get some of the things that Upper Marlboro would like to have if you're not invited to the seat at the table? How do you make that happen?
You keep knocking on the door until they say, oh my goodness, we're going to have to let them come in because they're not going to stop unless we let them come in. You just have to keep pushing, with the town commissioners and the mayor, we have to get together and make that a priority. We just have to constantly keep sending letters, talking to the right people. Let us in. We need to talk about these things. You just have to keep bombarding people and say, look, we need this, we need that. We want to be included. We just have to continue to keep moving forward and not stop. You just, eventually, if people keep saying, oh, like I said earlier, oh my goodness, they're not going to stop unless we let them in. You just got to keep going. You never give up. You never quit. You just keep going until they let you in. You just have to talk to the right people, get people to help you, but just keep going and never stop.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
one of the reasons that Bowie is so important now is because when they annex, they have votes. What role do you think that if Upper Marlboro were to annex, do you think that it would make a powerful entity such as Bowie that would have these legislators actually listen to people here?
I think that Bowie historically has an old side and a new side,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think the old side has some strength politically and otherwise. And I think that the new side has more condensed population, more concentration of people, of course, but they have kept an identity within itself. And I think that they have great school systems. People that go to Bowie don't really leave Bowie. They have everything there at Bowie, in Bowie, excuse me. And then they have amenities for their community, right? Dog parks, ice skating rinks, ice cream parlors, right? A town center. So they have a little bit more space and a little bit more attractions for people to go in, right? They have a lot of different businesses, whether it's entertainment and nightlife, opposed to daytime activities, but people want to go there for retail. So they have a lot of different. It's a hodgepodge of different businesses, community, and so on and so forth. And they probably get taxed more than us too, right? So yeah, so I mean that makes a big difference as well. So I think that we should borrow some of the ideas of a couple of the towns. Bladensburg, they have, to Ms. Poinier's point, they have a water taxi and, you know, different things that you could rent a canoe. I mean, so it's a lot of things that we can do. And to Mr. Brooks' point, partnerships. We can, there are ideas out here, we just have to tap into. But if we stay inclusive and insulated and we don't talk to the other mayors of certain towns or other stakeholders in certain places, right? And if we have more people on the board that can spread out more, we can get more things done. If we all on the same page to a certain degree. I mean, of course, we need to have objectivity, but at the same time, I think we need to tap into other cities and see what they're doing, other little towns throughout PG County, and borrow some of those ideas and collaborate to get a seat at the table, right? So I'm pretty sure we're not the only ones that aren't getting the investment that we need. I know that Ms. Alsobrooks, or our county exec, have got a boatload of money recently. How is that trickling to our little town? So it has to be checks and balances, and we have to be able to, you know where to look and who to talk to, and collaborate and create some type of coalition with other towns that's in a similar situations. I think that's just good governing.
Mr. Brooks, what do you think are the most pressing problems here in the town of Upper Marlboro?
Not enough involvement from the community. I think that's a big issue. Not enough involvement from the community. I'm not there to see who's all there. If we have a lot of people coming out this evening, because this is a big forum for people to come out to ask questions to the up and coming person who would fill the seat. Not enough involvement from the community. You know, people, when something bad happens, people will come out. But you know, you have to get more involvement from the community.
Ms. Benoit, why do you think that the community doesn't engage in a lot of the activities that are here?
That is a very good question, because I have been trying to find the answer to that for a long time. I have never understood why people sit back and let things happen and go with the status quo.
Mhm.
We were the status quo for a very long time. Nothing happened here. A lot of money and still nothing happened. To be very honest, I think it took, Mayor Turner, Margaret Turner, and I name her because she's the one that gave us the kick in the pants. And we needed it. And all of a sudden, things started to happen. It hadn't been happening for years. It should have been. Ask people, well, you know, we like the town the way, you know, it is. How's it working for you? You like the street? No, it's bumpy, it's crummy, and why don't you fix it? Well, say you wanted it fixed. You don't come up to the town hall, you don't participate, you have to let us know what you want. And I think getting them, in this town, it almost has to be a personal thing. You have to be one-on-one with a lot of people. They like it. They like the one-on-one. They like knowing that they can pick up the phone and call you whenever they want to, or yell across the street if they want to. See you on the street and say, hey, you know, let's talk about this. They like to be able to do that, and we have to be able to do that more often. Can't be standoffish. President Story used to say, make an appointment with me. That doesn't fly. You know, they like it to say, let me tell, where do you want to meet for coffee? Come have a cup of coffee. That's what they want. That's the kind of people that like, yeah, they're not going to come. I mean, we even put it online and they still don't come. So it's very difficult to get people to move nowadays. And we made it as easy as possible. I know it's been a struggle for this administration. It was a struggle for, well, my administration. We had COVID. Getting people to move, you couldn't, you know, and we had more Zoom meetings and people were meeting out by 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. They'd have 9 meetings that day and where they were at. It's very difficult to do that. But I think it can be done. It might take a lot more community events. You know, we started several years ago. I did a block party on Spring Branch Drive. We did it for, you know, 3 or 4 years. And I think those kinds of things that bring the neighbors together, and then you can have, you know, the commissioners come, the mayor comes, and you can have those informal conversations. And we need more of those, all within the town.
Okay, I'm gonna go off script for a minute. So why don't people participate or come out or get more engaged?
I think,
I
oh.
think,
I'm sorry.
I'm going off script for a minute, Mr. Brooks. Just a second. There are a few things. So,
for one, people don't feel like, I think, their voices are heard a lot of times. You talked about a block party on Spring Hill Drive, but yet Marlboro Towns is the largest area of people, yet you don't frequent that area, you don't engage that area. I know that there were issues before Mayor Franklin with just having involvement with that area. As far as, you know, we have current MOUs and they're doing our streets. Prior to her, we didn't have that. And also, again, you know, with that being the largest community, when you talk about engagement, right? From the leaders, we want you to engage us. Not only that, but when we attend the meetings, right? We talk about collaboration with town leaders as far as annexation and bringing business. But when you look at your meetings, there's so much decisiveness within the board itself, you know, and that spills over. And we're looking at that like, really? I mean, and even you as a former mayor, right? I believe, and not just you as a former mayor, but as a commissioner, you or anyone else who is current or may join, I think that your actions speak volumes. There's so much infighting now. now and even during your administration, that just, people are just completely turned off by it. Now, we have to live here, yes, we want certain things, but we're not motivated at the same time to engage with. I mean, I think I've had more interaction with Mayor Franklin in, since she's taken over in the 6 years that I've been here. There was just not a lot going on. And from our perspective, you stuck mainly to this area out here. When you talk about infrastructure and annexation and bringing in business, I understand that the town is limited, but before you start doing all of that, you have to work on the infrastructure first. You want people to stay in the town and eat, but yet there's no parking. We have the courthouse, that brings the business during the day, and it just is what it is. But in the evening, there's really not a lot here. There's no way to get around the traffic. It's not. That's a major thoroughfare between 301 and this area. I just think there's a lot. There's a lot going on. You talk about the rebranding, but yet there's issues with the all the racial stuff in the logos, and that was an issue. We can't be historic and progressive, right? So we just can't. Some things we have to let go in order to move forward. You just can't. I understand Upper Marlboro has its history. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do to change it. But you do have to make changes today going forward if you want people to be engaged. I understand that there's some resistance to even annexation. But I think a lot of that has to do with the commission itself and just the way it's, business has been conducted. It can't be my way or the highway. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of that. So here's my question. So now that I've gone on that tangent, if you are to be elected or re-elected, how would you what would you do to encourage collaboration amongst yourselves first and then with other administrations?
Okay, first of all, while I was mayor, and all the while I was on the board, it was a 3-member board. Discussions were not as frequent as they are now. I pushed for a 5-member board for a reason, because I needed more representation, and we needed to talk to one another. 3-member board, you can't unless you're not in the meeting. If you can't discuss it beforehand, you get an argument, because you don't know the other person's ideas. You don't know, you aren't able to do that. I pushed for that, 5-member board for 4 years. Before I got it. That 5-member board meant that every one of us on the board could talk to each other. I could pick up the phone and call anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that luxury when I was mayor. Mayor Franklin has it now. Beforehand, she could say what she thought. Any one person at a time. She can't have two because that's a quorum. But it makes it a lot easier to do that business. And so if there's an issue, you can discuss it between those parties, can discuss it together. That makes a big difference.
If I may interrupt, to make this fair, I would like to pose the question to Mr. Phillips and Mr. Brooks and what their ideas to foster more collaboration amongst not just the people of the town, but also the commissioners and the mayor within the town. And if I may say so too, that's the whole purpose I surmise as people running for office, so that they can create the changes that they see that are necessary. But if Mr. Brooks, if you would answer that question, and then you, Mr. Phillips.
Yes, first and foremost, that's a great question. It's all about respect. We may not always agree on every idea, but it all comes down to respect respecting one another. We all come from different walks of life. We all have different ideas, but you have to go you have to come to the table with an open mind. Life is changing. What went on 20, 15 years ago, we're past that. We have to move forward because after us, there's going to be another generation. But you have to come to the table with an open mind and respecting one another. You can leave you can have a civilized debate, but it's all about respect. You can leave a meeting and get on the phone and talk to other people about one another, but a lot of unnecessary back and forth will get nowhere because you're not going to move forward if you're having a bunch of unnecessary nonsense. You have to come to the table with an open mind and being respectful for one another. If that's not there, nothing will get done.
Phillips, thank you.
Yes. So I think that the reason I am here is because of exactly what the young lady was speaking of, honestly. I mean, I came to meetings early on. I saw the disarray. I kept it moving. I don't have time for it. I got my everyday life to worry about, and so that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth until I started seeing community engagement. Like I said, collard greens, right? It all started over collard greens. Got collard greens. I said, oh, all right, they give it away, So for me, I think more things similar to that. Being inspired by seeing African American the trail and talks about how people walks to freedom and things of that nature. Having conversations about the lynchings in the town, right? I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable. I'm all right. So I think I am a man of the people. I partake my local restaurants. Pay a little extra because I know that small minority businesses have to blossom, right? I go to the coffee shop. I go to the locksmith. So I partake. I like my quaint community. My children grow here, right? My children gone to Barack Obama, all the way through to Wise, graduated. Like I said, one of my sons, he goes to PG Community College. He runs the city because he's an athlete, right? So I think that connectivity, and while I was on this move to even be petitioned, I spoke to people I would have never normally spoke to, and had great conversations and dialogue to the point where we had to say, okay, it's enough, because we talking a lot, right? We had conversations, real conversations about things that connect us all, children, food, things of that nature. So I think that we're going in the right place. But it's more dialogues that need to be had. And I mentioned the lynching part is because it's uncomfortable for some people to have those conversations. But I'm open to it because it sparks other conversations of what we're doing now, and waving at people and talking to people in the town and having transparency, right? A lot of people have interior motives of why they do certain things, right? I'm not here for any motive other than my community. I have no dog in it. I could be doing other things, and I appreciate everyone being here today. But I'm here because I think that it's necessary to have representation here and to hear all sides of the perspectives. Because I felt I was that person in the room, and I'm seeing people being divisive, and I'm like, what's going on here? Am I in the wrong place? Because I don't want to get into, so and being mislabeled, because I've had that before. You look at me, my hat might be to the back, and I might have some New Balances on when I leave here, and they'll just look at me and be like, who is that guy? Not to know I'm highly educated, highly articulate. I have a lot of connections that and expertise that I would like to contribute, whether in this position or just being involved. And I think that to bring people together, you have to have a good faith effort. You can't really measure good faith though, right? It's in you, right? It's judged by your actions. So I think that this is a great conversation, a great opportunity to share our views, and to just have representation at the table. We keep talking about that table. To have these dialogues. So I think this is a start.
One of the things that you did mention was the whole aspect of lynching, and I think one of the reasons I met you is because there were some issues here with I would say misunderstandings with people's different backgrounds racially, and I think that and I don't know if people agree with this, but there's always that saying that if you don't bring it to the forefront, you don't know how to address it because you don't know what to address.
Absolutely.
And I agree with the sense that, you know, it may be hard, you have to have those hard conversations in order to understand, you know, what people are about. And, you know, diversity engagement is very important if you're going to get people to understand each other and to understand that we are more similar than we are different.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think I asked a question like this, and not to belabor what I'm talking about. If your child was dying or needed blood, would you stop certain people from giving it, or would you want your child to live? So if we all have the same blood, you know, how different could we possibly be? If people have children, people live in houses, people work. So that's kind of like where the dialogue. In fact, most people don't even know lynching I was on the lynching committee, the Maryland lynching committee, so that someone was lynched right here in Upper Marlboro.
Absolutely. 2.
Right.
Oh, 3. I'm sorry.
But that's not a problem that we should have. It's a conversation that we need to have to understand that, yeah, all over the country, people were lynched. You know, all
That's
over the
correct.
country,
That's correct.
people were lynched when they weren't Black. They were lynched because they helped Blacks, or, you know, for whatever reason, family disputes. So people were lynched, but that's a conversation, and people do need to get engaged if you want change. You know, but it's not limited to here in Upper Marlboro. The lack of engagement is all over the county. Because people feel as though that their votes don't count, but we know that our votes do count.
Are you taking questions from the floor?
Yes, I am. But let me get through these last few questions, and I will take them from the floor, just because I think we have time. We'll go to 8. So, can you describe a time when you were able to form a collaborative working relationship? We'll start with Mr. Brooks here. Can you describe a time when you developed collaborative working relationships?
I would say within my community, within my neighborhood. I'm a people person. You know, we collaborate with different people at work, but I would say within people in my neighborhood. I mean, I'm a people person. I go around and I see people. I'm a big animal person. So when I see people with the dogs or just new people coming in the neighborhood, you just speak, form a relationship, and get to know one another. That's how I would answer that.
Mr. Phillips?
My job is collaboration. I represent so many different entities, and part of it is going and having collective conversations with management, right? I'm a certified mediator. So I definitely mediate people and not focus on persons or people. We focus on interests, right? How to get to a solution. I've testified in front of City Council, the mayor's office of Washington, D.C. multiple times, right? And I just find ways to invoke collective interest based on a situation, i.e. COVID, the pandemic. We needed to get PPEs, protective gear, essential for the essential employees. So we had to make sure that we knew who to speak to, how to project the needs more by utilizing resources like the media, right? So we got the media involved. We collaborated with certain entities. and was able to provide our employees with protective gear. So I collaborate with anybody for the right reasons, and that's a strategy, that's a technique, and some people have it and some people don't. But I collaborate every day, actually.
Collaboration with other entities, I did that with, PGCMA on a regular basis. Many of the municipalities, we collaborated on strategies. I brought in, people to talk with the other, municipalities on several subjects. Eviction was one of them, making sure that, everybody knew what was going on, and got it beforehand instead of afterwards. We work with people like food bank, make things of that nature. With the Town of Upper Marlboro Historical Committee, work with Dartmouth Chance on a regular basis. And I think the town and Dartmouth Chance could work much better together. I mean, they're right here. And they have a new philosophy as well. It's getting to know what they do and what the other areas are doing. I have the unique ability to be in every one of the municipalities. PGCMA, over the years I went to PGCMA, and you'd be surprised what you can gain as networking. And we collaborated with Forestville, not Forestville, I'm sorry, Morningside, with the circuit rider grant, because I knew that he needed somebody and we needed somebody.
I have one or two more questions, and then we'll open it up to the floor. These are questions, I want you to know that these questions are not necessarily my questions, but they were collected from the community. So, in the various towns, they do have, let's say, I'll use Mount Rainier as an example. Mount Rainier is now somewhat, over the last years, has established the arts district. Would that be something that the commissioners would be interested in? And if so, how do you think that you would initiate it? Because there's a lot of money being poured into Mount Rainier, and they're starting to get the traffic of people to come in, and, just the restaurants, and why is it that, they're interested in putting more money into that as opposed to the other towns within Prince George's County that would need that boost, let's say? Any one of y'all can talk. Mr. Brooks, did you have a question? Mr. Brooks?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
I was saying that in the towns such as Mount Rainier, the county is putting a lot of money into that town. That's something that commissioners would be interested in, and if so, how would you go about more or less developing something like an arts district here in Upper Marlboro, which draws quite a few people?
That would be, a form for the commissioner and the mayor to go over. Personally, I don't think it would be a bad idea at all, to bring in more revenue. If people have to understand, our town is not that big. So, Mount Rainier, Lanham, all those other towns, and Bowie, are bigger towns. So we're not that big. But yes, I think that would be a good idea. Like I said, reverting back to, having different activities for the town will bring in more revenue. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. It just depends on what ideas we have and how we just don't want to do something just to bring in money, but we want to do something that would be beneficial to the town, because we don't want to bring in too much traffic, because when you have too much traffic, you start to have a little bit more problems with people not here. And we want everyone in our town to still feel safe in their town. But yeah, I think that would be a good idea to put on the table with the mayor and the four commissioners on how to do that. But, you know, it just has to depend on what we're talking about. I mean, all money won't be good money, but it has to be a good idea and beneficial for the town to do.
I think that that area was allocated for art. I'm not sure how that happened. I don't know the resources that was put into that area for art. I don't know, but I will say that if we was to do something like that, we would have to have the space. The only space I can think of was where the old subway used to be at. I don't know what we had for that. But I think that if we were to do something similar, I don't know if we tap into our religious leaders and organizations. I don't know if we tap into our nonprofit organizations or what have you. But I know that we're tight on the budget, right? So I don't know how that would look. Right now we do have a mural up. I don't know how to sustain that, considering the effects of the weather. But I think there's a space for creativity and art within our town. I just don't know where and how.
I think we've really started on that path. We have the two murals going up. Pocket Park will also have some artwork in it. I'm hoping anyway. I think when you put two murals up, there's a few other buildings in town are gonna go, I want a mural too. So you're gonna see that go forward and self-propel. As Andre said, space. That is our biggest problem, is where can we do this? And one of my dreams was the old elementary school and turning it into an art center. And, looking at something like a small torpedo factory where you have artisans doing things and showing, you could teach people, they could give lessons, they could sell their wares, and people could watch what they do. That to me would have been a blessing. But we don't have the building. So it's space. Space is a big problem.
Thank you. One other question, and then we'll open it up for the floor, and then each one of you will have 3 minutes in closing. The last question is, are there any town regulations or ordinances that you would like to see changed or repealed if elected?
I would like to see I love the speed cameras. I'm not going to say that I want to see anything change. My children used to catch the bus on the corner, and cars used to speed past when they was catching the bus. So I'm happy about that, at least. But also, I would like to see more things similar to roads being fixed or repaved, as well as speed bumps. We talked about it earlier, to slow people down in our community. So I'm not going to say that I'm aware of any ordinances that I want to see repealed or changed, but I would like to see certain things added.
For me, this is my second time running, so I'm always here to learn and to listen. What I would like to see is more enhancement of our town. Like Mr. Phillips said, the roads, but just being more enhancement of our town, would be one of the things I would say. More enhancement of the town.
I would like to see the property standards looked at, personal property and the commercial property. They were both written a while back, and they didn't have a lot of input, I know for a fact, from the people. I'd like to see that looked into. I'll need to take pride in our own places. And when people don't, it makes a difference. Property values change. But I know there was not a lot of public input into either one of those. I'd like to see.
Follow up? That's why that wasn't done.
My administration was rather busy doing things that some of my commissioners decided were more important. Some of them were, and we also had to deal a lot with the COVID situation. In order to do public input, it would have taken a lot of door knocking during COVID that would have not been advantageous. People were not answering their doors.
There is one other question. If you were not to win, any one of you, would you still be engaged in what goes on within this town and bringing more people into the engagement and not just because I didn't win, I'm not going to be bothered? So would all of you all either commit to or state that you would be more engaged in the town?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Stuck with
I'm
me.
sorry, go ahead.
I'm done.
What about you, Mr. Brooks?
Absolutely, I would, like I said earlier, this is my second time running. I ran the first time in 21. Didn't win, no problem. It's all about learning and listening. Absolutely, I would still stay engaged in what's going on in my town and the community. If I don't win, I'll stay engaged and I'll run again. It's all about working together, getting to know one another, and keeping an open mind when you bring things to the table. So absolutely, I'll continue to come back and continue to stay engaged with my community.
No, it is.
Thank you. I have been engaged all along. I've been engaged for quite some time and they haven't changed.
All right, now, going off script again. Oh, did somebody say something? Oh. I'm opening up to the floor.
Hi, Patricia Fenn on the Sustainable Work Group, task force for a while. When the county moved its operations, county government moved its operations to Largo, they designated $2.5 million toward the city. Would you talk to that? Would you speak about that, you and Mr. Brooks?
Speak specifically about them moving.
No, the money that was set aside they designated in the budget to the city, to the town of Upper Marlboro.
So enforcing the budget and the money that was allocated for us to be used by us.
Yes, would you speak to that?
I don't know enough to speak on it, but I will say that if that is something that we are owed, I don't know the apparatus or the tools to make sure that we enforce that money is being obtained by us. But I'm pretty sure that if there is a method to do so, I would aggressively enforce that. But I don't know enough to know how that's possible for a town to go against the government, the PG County government. But I'm pretty sure that legislatively, legally, it's some means to do so. So I would have to research that and address it.
Yeah, I don't have any information on enough. Actually, I don't know enough about that on what all went on. And so I really can't speak on that, but that's probably a question maybe the mayor could answer or some of the board members, but I don't have enough information about that to give a proper answer.
So can I, pardon me, so I would like to ask, since you're the subject matter expert, what could be done?
That money is been allocated to the revenue authority, and the city is engaged with the revenue authority about that.
Okay.
And they've been doing that for some time. They just haven't gotten the revenue authority to move on it, in my opinion.
So how do you enforce it, in your
Well,
opinion?
the city, the mayor and the town commissioners are engaged with the Revenue Authority over that whole thing. They're on top of it. It's just that it hasn't, in my opinion, been executed.
So executed versus enforcement, I'm just confused.
It's a conversation,
Oh, okay.
and they're having it.
So it's a pending conversation.
It's actually an ongoing conversation.
Okay.
That is
I was just
happening,
curious.
and he-
Okay.
Amount of money,
I appreciate
revenue source.
I appreciate your feedback, but we're open to listen to it. That's what you're for, because you're an expert in that. I didn't even know anything about the 2.5 million, but thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Wait, do you want to elaborate on that?
So there's $6.5 million that was allocated, for the town of Upper Marlboro for economic development, revenue authority. And we engaged through our county council person last year and didn't quite get there, but got close. So this year, we have been engaging directly with the revenue authority with the plan that came from economic development group. And they said, this is the first time you ever came to us with a plan. Let's try and figure out what we can do. So we have been having successful conversations with various county council members. And the thing that the town needs to do is not fight with the county on it, but work with them together.
Who's your council member? Is that Sydney?
Our council member is Sydney Harrison, but I'm talking with all of the members. I hope that the candidates would collaborate rather than butt heads, so that we can continue to see that money.
Understood. Thank you.
One of the questions is that you just mentioned, and it was brought up earlier. How do you all, and one of the questions that people ask, because it was brought up that sometimes there's dissension amongst the ranks, how do you all see moving forward to make certain that, understanding that you're not always going to be on the same page, but how do you work through your issues and make certain that that doesn't spill over into the community and maybe, it would engage more people?
As I said before, the key word is communication.
Is the community do you all receive a lot of the communication that's going on? And if not, how would you bring that to the attention of the commissioners? Because it's more or less a two-way street. They have to communicate with you all, and you all have to communicate with them. So, you have to be engaged. And like I said, that's not limited to the town of Upper Marlboro, because it's all over the county. People want change, but people don't want to be engaged in what it takes to make things happen.
I have the advantage, well, it's not an advantage, everybody has it. I pick up phone and ask. If I don't know what's going on a certain specific subject, or something hasn't happened in a while, I can pick up the phone and ask. I just call town hall and say, what's going on? Here's what, I had a hole at the end of my driveway from December. It was there, and I know it was WSSC. Finally came out and fixed it the other day. But not only do I call them bug, but I also called them and pictures and said, look what they finally did. And they were very nice about it. But it has to go both ways. If I want to know what's going on with something else, I'll call Commissioner, or, call Kyle. You call town hall and see if you can get an answer.
Any other questions? Well, I will say that also, I'm not sure if you all have this issue here in the town, but I know where I live, which is just up the street, which I want to be annexed. We had a septic issue, and we've been dialoguing with our council members. Some of the people, say on Town Farm Road, Rock Hall Estates, their septic systems are failing. So, we were trying to get Public Works to bring public water or septic sewer into the community. And they say that it's too expensive. But if they don't put it in, then, and it fails and the people don't have enough property to, for the drain field, the property could very well be condemned. So, that's one of the issues. So I don't know if you all have that issue here or not. And the only reason I was asking is because if we're having ongoing meetings if that's the case. And if anyone wanted to engage in our conversations, it's open to anyone in Upper Marlboro.
I think from my standpoint, a title it means a lot, but it also doesn't. I mean, just me being a good neighbor, I was walking down the street and I seen the ground was frozen from a pipe burst. I text the mayor. And so me and her are blowing up WSSC's phone up the entire evening, right? And so it's things like that. When you talk about engagement, it's so easy to point the finger, right? But what are you doing to make something better? So I encourage, if I'm elected into the seat, hold me accountable.
Maybe some people, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe some people don't know how to be activists. And I'm not saying that this is the case here, but they don't know, oftentimes people don't know what to do. So, I mean, it may be prudent to, I know that some of us are considering holding classes that teach people how to more or less be activists for themselves.
I mean, advocacy, you're right. I guess it's different type of advocate, being an advocate methods. I will say that to point the finger at a problem without creating a solution is oftentimes counterproductive.
But you have to know what the solution is. I mean, I'm not debating you.
No, I'm not. This isn't a debate. I'm just saying that I would encourage people, if there is a problem and we can identify a solution, because you could continue to create or identify a problem. If there is a problem, we are, as public servants, here to do a job. So I have to be notified of a problem and try to understand, how can I fix this problem for you? And I am open to be open, but like the young lady said, I was unaware of 25.
Well, over 4 years ago.
Yeah, I was unaware. So I'm asking, what enforcement, that's my job, right? To ask, how can I fix that? What would be a solution for that? And I was using you as an example, I'm sorry.
The county council, which meets routinely, sends out a agenda that lists the agenda so you can read it.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you how to speak to these different issues. They give you a link, and all you have to do is execute it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so if you want to know about what's going on in the city or the council or the state, you have to pick up the phone and ask someone. That's the start point for all of us. But that information is available readily. But people have to establish a partnership with their elected officials or their community people, or as Mr. Brooks has said, their neighbors.
Absolutely.
But you have to take some responsibility, and I don't see enough of that.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure, go on, Mr. Brooks.
We, in our town, we have a bulletin that comes out maybe once a month or twice a month. They talk about COVID, they talk about various things in the town. If people have questions about anything, you can email the mayor. There's the mayor. There's an email on there. You can email the mayor, you can call the mayor. There's so much information out there that people can use for resources to get your questions answered. You can go to the town hall and knock on the door and say, hi, I have a question, things like that. But going back to the topic about, unfortunately, I wouldn't want to say the word fighting, but within the commissioner's office and the mayor, people, everyone has a boss, whether if you work for the private sector, the government, everyone has a boss. So when you're coming up with the solutions, not with the solution, but when things are brought to you on the table, you have to tell the whole truth about it, every aspect of the situation, and let all the commissioners would get together with all the information that they were given to pass a law to make a solution. But that's how I would approach that type of issue. Keep an open mind. Our boss will bring everything to us, put everything on the table, and then we go from there. We may not agree, but I go back to another thing. You have to respect one another. Why take on this job if you're not going to do it properly? You have to work with one another and respect one another, no matter what the issues are. We have to be there to work for the betterment of our town. That's what we're here for.
Thank you. And we're coming to the end of the day here, and each commissioner gets 3 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Just really quick.
Can each of the candidates speak to me on their views on DEIB? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I understand that the current, thing, they voted against the Pride proclamation or whatever it is. So, you know, I want everyone to feel included. I would think that as a commission, you know, we're gonna have all types of residents, right? We want everyone to feel like they belong here. So what is your position on that? And are you able to separate your personal feelings from what's best for the town?
I think that's a great question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the two of you. I think
Well,
that's
while you started, Mr. Brooks, go on and answer the question. I said, since you started, go on and answer the question.
I'm sorry. I think that's a great question. You know, we all come from different walks of life. We all have different religions. We all have different ideas. But one thing we have to do is respect one another. No matter if I don't agree with someone on whatever issue, whether someone's gay, lesbian, bi, gender equality, all of that. We have to respect one another. So when topics like that come up, you know, the world is moving and it's moving. We have to move with the times. So when you're dealing with certain issues, some people, it gets touchy for some people, but it's all about love and respecting one another. Somebody may not agree with another person being gay and lesbian. It doesn't matter. That's their life. You respect them. And you just move on. You have to learn. We have to learn how to respect one another and be there for one another. So when we have issues like that, you have to come to the table with an open mind and put aside your personal opinions, because it's not always about you. It's about everyone else.
Phillips, would you like to answer the question?
Sure, equality. End of the day, equality, civility, having universal respect for one another. Human rights is a human issue, right? So we need to respect everyone's right. Inclusion is power. Having a diverse group of people with different perspectives makes the town stronger.
Yes.
So we need to empower our citizens, all of our citizens, no matter what they are, or who they are, or how they identify. We're all one big group, one big family at the end of the day. So I think that's, you know, a human right. I don't see anything wrong with inclusion and diversity. And I would love to see representation from all walks of life in our seats so they can speak to their personal experience.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Having been on the board for years, I can tell you that I only look at people's citizens, and that's it. You live in this town, you're a citizen of the town, and that's how I respect you as. If you have felt otherwise and not come to me, then I can't change that conversation. I've never thought of anybody as anything other than a citizen of the town of Marlboro. And, what my personal feelings are, unless you ask me, you won't know them. I think everybody has a story, everybody has a reason to be, for being who they are and how they are. If you're interested enough, ask the question. Down they have a cup of coffee. If you're not interested and you want to take somebody else's word for it, you're going to do that anyway. And this is how I am. If I don't know somebody, ask them. Down they have a cup of coffee, talk to them, find out what their story is. And maybe they'll find out what yours is. And you'd be surprised how many times I have sat down and found out so many people have the same views. Quite different. But the general views are all the same. So it's conversation and communication.
Any other questions before we close? And each person gets to give, can I cut it down to 2 minutes? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. Kind of follow up on a question that you asked early on about a police department or the police department being outside of town.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to re-ask that question a different way because the way it was asked, I don't think it was clearly understood by the candidate.
Okay.
So the police department is forward thinking. And as we annex and we grow, we have to have space for the officers to work, move, and their thing. So if there's a building just outside of town, but the officers are still working in town, that's where they go to check in, check out, but they're still in the town, would you support that with that potential location being annexed into the town? Because you can annex later, but it's only right outside of town. It's not a mile, it's not 2 miles, it's 3 minutes away from the town. But
Not the closet they were in now,
but the area
Okay.
is looking to be annexed. So
Okay.
would you be in support of that? Because the question, answers were more or less, it was another agency coming in. It's the same agency.
Got you.
We just have a different address
Okay.
currently or potentially until it's annexed in. So would you all be in support of that and a more clear question than how it was answered?
I think that would be, as long as the service wasn't diminished or limited based on the distance, because I don't know where you're actually talking about. And considering what she just said about being a closet, of course we want you to have enough space to be able to do certain things. And if people feel I don't know if we have a CERT team within the town or certain things that, can, I guess, be a gap filler in case something was to happen and make people feel more secure. Then, knowing all of the details, then we can make a logical decision. But I'm glad you clarified it a little deeper because that was my opinion. I was like, okay, some outside police force invading our town, and I don't know about that part.
That's why I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
candidates understood.
Yeah.
Same police is no different than officers here. They're still patrolling. They will be doing the same patrolling. It's just the office will be just outside the town until it was annexed in. And that was part of the original plan, is why we were looking at this particular issue. Because currently there is no space that could do all of that.
As the annexation, we will have more officers, correct?
Exactly.
On you.
For me, it's a matter of, only because I've gone through it now twice. Annexation is not here, people. It is not guaranteed even tomorrow. Two different administrations put money in a budget that they thought would be here, and we had to back it out. Same thing goes for, I want the building needs to be here because if we annex and we have to grow and we will be ready. Being ready at whose expense? How much is this going to cost? If it's not gonna cost the people that may get annexed, it's gonna cost the people that are already being taxed. That's my question.
Mr. Brooks?
I think we would have to revert to the mayor on getting more information on that, but more policing would not be a bad idea if needed, but we would need to have more information from our mayor to give an accurate answer on that. But backup policing will not be a bad idea if it was much needed.
That's sort of internal negotiations that are kept in like closed session because they're get that.
So we don't, if that's all the questions, and we don't want to hold anybody up as, any much further past where we are, can you guys do your 3-minute closing speech so we can get everyone out? So we'll start with you, Mr. Brooks, 3 minutes.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank everyone for coming out in person and remotely. And again, once again, I'm sorry that I was not there in person. But I just want to say, this is my second time running. I don't want to give people false impression on what you can and cannot do. I think a town commissioner, it's all about working together with the board, with the mayor and the 4 county commissioners. It's all about working together. And like I said, I'm a longtime resident of the town. I love the town. I love to be involved in the town. So that's why I'm running to be your town commissioner and get more and to learn more so we can move forward. But it's all about a group effort from everyone, keeping an open mind and a group effort from the town commissions and the mayor, working together and moving forward to keep our town being more progressive and going further. So thank you for your time this evening. And again, my name is Derek Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Phillips?
Yes, thank you again for being here today. I had a blast. Meeting and talking to you all online and in person. I think that this is a great start to reinvigorate the town, to have more dialogue similar to this, to continue the motivation of what we're trying to achieve, which is improve the town's conditions and just be progressive overall. If you want someone with fresh ideas, who is open for change, who is always solution focused, I'm your guy. I think that we need more bright ideas, more inclusion, more diversity, so that we can have more better service to the towns as public officials. That's what we're charged to do. And I think that I will serve you the best that I can if elected. And I appreciate your time.
Once again, I would be asking for your vote. I would like to finish some of the things that were started during my administration. Some of them were not finished. To fruition. I like the fact that finally be on a board that you could talk to each other would be nice. Instead of arguing in open meetings. Not necessary. If you've got a 5-member board, it shouldn't be necessary. You should know each other well enough. But anyway, this town means a great deal to me. I've been here for over 30 years. Plan to blow me out of here with a stick of dynamite. I'm not going anywhere. And saying that don't challenge anybody to give me a call if you don't believe what I say. My phone number's all over the place. Town hall, give it to you if you ask. I already told them. And it'll go out in flyer. over the weekend. You'll have my phone number. You can call me. I have a problem with talking to anybody at any time. I mean, a great deal to me. I'd like to see it go forward, and I've seen it make those steps already. And let's see. Everybody else. You're voting. Thank you. And thank you all for coming.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming and everybody around.
Jody Wiley for coming and being our moderator.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
Well, good luck to all of you all. Thank you. Well, thank you.
Well, no.
So it's really important to stay engaged. We don't have enough black men engaged in. Charles Fuller. You remember when you first opened up? If you remember the first time.
Well, thank you, I appreciate